Why do so many 90s Japanese sports cars have 276 horsepower? Let's get into it. So, it's the late 1980s in Japan, and car accidents and car-related deaths and injuries are at an all-time high. Thinking that the cause of this increased rate of fatalities was people recklessly driving powerful cars, the Japan Automobile Manufacturers Association made a request to all Japanese car manufacturers to limit their cars' power. In 1989, Japanese auto manufacturers agreed, and a sort of gentleman's agreement was formed. No one would build a car with more than 276 horsepower. The reason for this specific number rather than 300 horsepower, for example, was likely due to the 1989 Nissan 300ZX coming out that year having exactly that much horsepower. Now, in theory, what this meant was if a Japanese car manufacturer made a new sports car with more than 276 horsepower, they would have to detune it on purpose to make it less powerful. In actuality, everyone continued making their sports cars like usual, and no one put too much care into limiting their horsepower. Only when it came time to advertise to the public did they then claim that their car made 276 horsepower, regardless of the real figure. The result of these false horsepower claims resulted in some pretty funny instances. For example, the Nissan Skyline R32 GTR that came out in 1989 had 276 horsepower. 6 years later, the all-new and improved R33 GTR came out with still 276 horsepower. And then 4 years after that, the even newer and even better R34 GTR came out with, yet again, 276 horsepower. They really didn't manage to increase the power output over the course of 3 generations? Perhaps a more blatant example is the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4, which was advertised as having 276 horsepower in Japan, yet when brought over to the US, despite having no significant changes, suddenly had 320 horsepower. Weird, huh? Unfortunately, all good things have to come to an end. The Gentlemen's Agreement saw its end in 2004, when the Japan Automobile Manufacturers Association came out and said publicly that it had found no statistical evidence showing a correlation between higher horsepower and increased road deaths. The Gentlemen's Agreement was ended, and the first car to formally break the 276 horsepower barrier was the 2004 Honda Legend with 296 horsepower. All in all, this is one of my favorite car stories. It's just kind of funny to think about every Japanese car brand agreeing to lie about their horsepower numbers in order to discourage reckless driving while they're still making powerful, fun cars. And it means that if you buy a 1990s Japanese sports car, there's a chance that it's making more power than it claims. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.